Good morning. It's Monday, November 20th, 2023. My name is Terry Morgan and we're here to practice. And we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of different things. I have been talking about perspective, how we develop our foundations, what we learn, how we build what we learn on that foundation. Talk a little bit about that idea this morning, and I'm dressed for it. I'm going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about future. So, how did I get started? What is my foundation? What did my study? What did my practice, what did my development include? How did I get here? How do I get from here over there? That's part of that whole conversation when we talk about our foundations in the martial arts, and when we talk about our foundations for learning generally. If we don't look for what we have and use that as a foundation, how can we build anything? Put this down and get started. This little costume that I have this morning, right? I have been talking about this, and I'm going to talk about it just real quick again, because that concept of what we have gets us to where we are. How do we get to what's next? I'm wearing a sweatshirt, and I got a sweater, and I got a t-shirt on under this, and you have no idea what the temperature in my room is. You know, it could be really toasty in here. It could be 80 degrees, and I'm wearing this sweatshirt and sweater. What's the point? Could be cold. It could be 30 degrees. Okay, and I'm using Fahrenheit, not centigrade. So 30 degrees is warm in centigrade. 0 would be the equivalent. Okay, it could be really chilly. You don't know. Unless I show something, unless I tell you, unless there's a thermometer on the wall, unless you have no way of knowing. You look at what I present. What I present, and you make some assumptions based on what I present. Your assumptions are based on your experience. You people don't usually wear a sweater and a sweatshirt when it's 80 degrees out. It just doesn't, it's not a normal thing to do. Okay, trust me, it's not 80 degrees, but it's also not 30. It's not 30 degrees centigrade, it's not 0 degrees centigrade. That knowledge now, you know, okay, why is she wearing a sweater? What's if I lose the sweatshirt, alright? Because, and I'm going to talk about this in context for a second, but if I lose a sweatshirt, now your perception is different. Your entire perception of what's going on is different. It is. There's no, you compare this, you compare that, you know, alright, you know, she's comfortable. She got on a nice shirt, the little sweater, you know, that's all right. It's not too warm. It's not too cold. That's your perception. Your perception would be correct. It's not too warm, it's not too cold. I'm fine right now. So it's not really warm, but it's not really cold either. Comfortable. Mostly. That perception that I'm comfortable comes through in my movements, it comes through in my voice, it comes through in how I present and the manner that I assume. If I was cold, that's cool, I would be moving around a lot more. Or I'd be putting that sweatshirt back on. If I was too warm, this sweater would probably be coming off pretty quick. That understanding of what my environment is, what you're looking at in my environment, and how I'm going to manage it. I'm going to wear the shirt, I'm not going to wear the shirt. What activity am I doing? Am I going to wear the shirt? Am I not going to wear the shirt? I didn't even talk about that. That perception, that change is part of what we want to pay attention to when we're looking to what we're going to do next. Changing that perception. We know what our foundations are. We look at things through the perception that we have from that foundation. Now I want to change it. But how do I change my perception? I learn something. I look at something in a new way. I pay attention to something that I wasn't previously paying attention to. I look for what I don't know, and I try to be open to whatever it is that's coming in. Because if I'm focused only on what I know, that's the foundation. This is what I was talking about last week. What's your foundation? 2 weeks actually. What's your foundation? Where do you come from? Why are you able to do certain things? How did you learn how to do what you can do? Perception of what you learned. Past. That colors what you do today. How do you change that? Because that's what you do when you learn something new, is you change your perception. Right? I changed your perception of me when I took off the sweatshirt.我也可以张可说汉语。我这样做，你的想法是看到这个人说汉语，这有一点像不可能。这个人不会汉语，为什么？为什么我不会？我会听懂，我会翻译。那翻译有一点 不太好，但是也可以。我写字也可以，也不是很好。我打字也可以。有人跟我说一般的我听明白，为什么我不可以说汉语？Je sais pas un peu français. Un peu. Hablo español poquito.为什么不可以说汉语？That discussion, I've spoken Chinese and talked about speaking in another language, about learning Chinese, about the idea that the perception that my speech in Mandarin creates is different than the perception that my speech in English creates. Should be. That was part of my goal. That is big part of, what we need to move past in order to develop our skills, particularly in the internal arts. That outward perception. I'm not supposed to speak Chinese because why? I can't speak French because why? I'm German? Spreek ik best niet. I can understand a little Italian, a little Dutch, some Portuguese. A little bit, not a lot, but enough. And I can read. I read quite a bit. My perception changes depending on my environment, depending on the language that I'm trying to function in, English, Chinese, Spanish, wherever I happen to be, and on the people around me. How I am perceived changes too. My body language, my interactions with people, the way in which I carry myself, and the manner that I choose to use can change. The same thing holds true in everything we do in practice. That change in perception. I'm going to use push. 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 Just push. This is push. Right? Push. That's push. It is. Oh, but no, that's not really push. No. This has to be this way, and it has to be this, and this has to be this, and this, and right? This is really push. Sort of. It is. So is the first one. What goes behind push? 就是说俺 不是旁，就是 an. The difference, perception, right? In push, an, in, around, out and down. In pung, ward off, up, push out. This one down, press down. This one up, lift up. This difference affects the way that we do the movement. If we are paying attention to, and this goes to foundations, it also goes to this idea of what's next. If we're paying attention to foundations, foot has to be solid, foot has to be solid, I have to be able to step through. This is a Tai Chi movement, so I'm going to roll through my foot as I step in. 60-40, 60 in the front, 40 in the back. And how wide my step is depends on my leg and what I've chosen to do. It's not dependent on push. So both are okay. Both are push. This is not push. No, that's not push. There's no internal connection and there's no sense of push. That's not push. Okay, it's not. That's push. Understanding what goes on underneath. That's the take off the sweater, right? Understanding what you're doing underneath the movement affects how you perceive what that movement is. If you don't know, that might look okay. I pushed from the shoulders. My hands came out from the shoulders. There was no engagement through my body, and my upper body was separate from my lower body. No. No. That's just learning the basic idea. That's not a complete movement. That was. How do we get from this kind of thing to this? Understanding there's something that we don't see, a change in perception that has to happen, and we don't know. It's not, I can show you, I can tell you what to look for. That's what we're doing right now. But until you find it, until you feel it in your own movement, it's not going to be yours. I'm going to have to work at that a little bit. I did. That change, as you practice, you develop, you get to a point where now, oh wait, well that was different. I felt that change. Being open to that change, being open to and conscious of what you're doing so you can feel it. gives you the opening to change your perception. When you do that, when you change your perception, everything looks different. All of the foundation work that you've done, everything that's been done in the past, is still there. It builds and it develops and it continues. And now there's this whole other discipline, aspect. I'm saying another whole other aspect to the discipline. From here, and I'm use this hand. Okay. Notice as I push, there's engagement. That's why I have my hand here at the lower titanium. There's engagement through the waist, through the hip, through the legs, and there's a sense, or there should be, a sense of substance behind this hand. It's not just put there. And it's not as tense as I can make it. It's actually not tense at all. That sense of connected extension needs to be present. The next step is adding to that both the energy, this is from physics, this is physical energy, right? As well as the internal energy, with the intent for push. An, not pum, an. Understanding of being able to see the difference between those two moves is something that we want to cultivate, so that as we're moving, whatever movement we're doing, we can see those changes. This is from Yan Style Tai Chi. Ward off. This is ready to pull down, right? This has ward off. Pung, pung, pung. Wait, pung is with the forearm here. This is pung. This can't be pung. That has to be push. No, doesn't. I could use my knee ward off, right? That idea, ward off, pung, has the sense of deflecting, moving away, and sending away. Go away, right? Knowing that, oh, pung, 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 both are the same idea. The difference is in the external movement. Pung, pung. Those movements are all ward off. Knowing that the internal movement, pung, and the external movement don't have to be the same, right? The quality of the movement, pang. The quality of the movement, pang. The physical movement here and the physical movement here, obviously not exactly the same. The internal energy for both is the same. Pang, ward off. But no, this has to be. I was that person. I was that person. It's not correct unless it's here, and this has to be here, and this has, no. No. Part of my study helped me to get past that. Because the more I looked at what other people were doing in their systems, the more I spoke with other teachers, the more that I was exposed to, the more I learned, my perception changed. And I developed that skill to see what's going on within the movement and push down. It's not ward off, that's push. That's ward off. That's ward off. That's push. That difference, being able to show that difference, knowing what that should look like, what it could look like, is how you develop what's next. Maybe today, it's not, no, it ain't, I don't know, I hear, I understand what you're saying, it's not working for me. That's okay. The more you practice, once you know what to pay attention to, the kinds of things to look for, you begin to develop more of a sense of, well, what about this? What was this, right? Ward off, push. Ward off. This ward off, this pull down. Press. Push. This one's push. 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 Quality of the movement behind what I was doing. My intent was push. It wasn't ward off. Knowing that, Yan style here. Cloud hands. Ward off, press, pull down, push. Ward off, press, pull down, push. Ward off, press, pull down, push. Each time as we turn, and yeah, I'm going lower here, as we turn and we sink into that turn, right? Bringing the whole body into the movement is something that we want to work on, right? So here I am working lower, right? This is fine. As I come up here, this is also fine. The key, relax, the key is my posture, timing, that I've got the upper body, lower body connections, that The turning is well placed. Everything is well timed. That as I'm moving, this concept that one part moves, all parts move, one part still, all parts are still, that's also present. So physical movement, we've got the internal movement, we've got the internal intent, we've got the external movements that need to be well timed and well placed. The body needs to be in good balance, and we need to be able to hold a position. A lot going on in that one move. A lot going on. That perception. Oh, well, they're just, this is just cloud hands. You just wave the hands like this. You just, the hands just go around like this. It's just, that's cloud hands, right? We just waving the hands. No. No. Being able to see the quality of movement, being able to see the underlying intent in the movement, being able to change your own perception of what it is you're doing as you develop your skills. That's what we want for future. Foundation, we got to have it. We have to know what our foundation is. Where am I coming from? Literally, where am I coming from? That knowledge gives us a basis to build on. As we're building, we keep using that foundation. We continually use that foundation to keep building whatever it is we're going to build. We have to, at some point, open to new perception and change what we have perceived, what we think is correct, so that we can learn something new. I thought this was ward off. This is ward off. That's it. That's ward off. And this is pull down, but all right, this is ward off. That's it. No, it's not. That's ward off. That's ward off. That's ward off. And so is that. All of that comes together as we look for and we start to try and develop what we're going to do next. That opening and being fundamentally ready to receive. Because sometimes when we go looking for what we want, we can't find it. It's in Tai Chi, we have the idea of grasping at the hollow log, and you can't. The more you grasp at it, it's floating on the water. The more you grasp at it, the further it floats away. You have to wait for it to come. When you're open to seeing what might be next, to seeing how your previous experience helps support what you're going to do next, what you might do next. That perception can open doors that you didn't know existed. We find that in practice over and over and over again. I have, anyway. Every time I learn something new, every time I try to look at what I have and put it into a bigger picture and look at what's next. What am I going to do next? All of the things that I've done, all of the things that I'm doing, come together and help color what I might do next. That development is fundamental for everything that we do. Physical movement, internal workmanship, the mental discipline, the approach to how we study, and the idea that we keep practicing, we keep working at it. I thank you for being here today. If the noise in the background, I wish I could do something about that, but it's a neighbor that's doing some construction. And they started really early. Again, apologies for that. I hope today's class was informative and that it helps take you forward. I'm going to be working on this idea of forward for the rest of the week. So I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for being here.